In 2018, the Ice Age report said 7% of the workforce is on it. I'll put it to you this way. If you drive down 7 South Road, you'll pass 720,000 odd cars in a day. 7% of that population is 50,089 ice addicts driving to work, maybe going to your house to be a cleaner, maybe be a carer, a support carer, maybe do some plaster, painting, the plumber, the electrician, the roofer. You name the sector, someone on ice is driving to work today and putting themselves and everyone else at risk.
Welcome to Building Perspective, the Master Builders SA podcast. I'm your host, Will Frogley. Join me as I speak with some characters in the building and construction industry.
Sleep in, did ya?
Whether you're just starting out
Jeez, no worries.
or you're about to knock off, it's good to know that your money is still on the job.
You in that caravan.
Bus Super, making hard work pay off.
Well, South Australia is an absolutely fantastic place to live and work, but a pretty confronting fact is that South Australia is also the ice capital of the world now. And in the building and construction industry, we're certainly not exempt. So to discuss this issue and what we can do to address it, today we've got Mario McDonagh from the STAH Group. Welcome, Mario.
Good morning, Will. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. 100%. Great state, but some serious problems we're facing.
Okay, why do you think it is, Mario, that South Australia has become the ice capital of the world? What is it?
Well, I think it's an epidemic across the country and the globe for that matter. It's readily available. It's a cheap drug. The self-worth that people are falling into, a lack of self-worth, is driving them to use drugs, and the struggles people face out there for day-to-day living. And we're not just talking what side of the train tracks you're from. We're talking some of the best people in society. We're talking family members, dads, mums, the youth. It's everyone and it's everywhere, and it's heartbreaking to watch.
It really strikes me as one of those drugs that just no good can come from trying for the first time. In the same category as heroin. Really, it's dangerous stuff, isn't it?
That's pretty much sums it up really well. It's super cheap as far as I understand. And the addiction rate of it is like once you've had it a couple of times, you're basically addicted, which is pretty scary.
What are some of the main areas in South Australia where it's particularly acute? I think Mount Gambier's, Murray Bridge are a couple of hotspots, aren't they?
They call them hotspots, Mount Gambier, Murray Bridge, but I'm seeing it from, I happen to be in Murray Bridge today, coming to you live on a site. That's all I can say, obviously, but it is across the state, it is across the nation. I've been watching the National Wastewater Drug Monitoring Program for the last 6 years now since they've been running it. And they have a graphical representation of the amount of milliliters used per 1,000 people for consumption. And I've watched that grow. They have a ring for regional, a solid circle for each state, and that representation around the country. I've just watched those rings grow and grow and grow across the eastern seaboard. WA and SA are always head to head, having a race on who's using the most ice. This is not a competition we should be proud of. The rest of the country needs to wake up, and especially the media, for actually sensationalising one state worse than the other. We need to realise this is destroying the fabric of our society. Every family in Australia is being affected by it. And that's what is devastating to watch.
And what are the main negative effects of ice use, Mario?
Well, Dr. Gabriella Todd last year around September, October, gave out a report for UniSA and released part of the paper saying after 5 uses of ice, you will have the same symptoms as Parkinson's disease.
That's frightening stuff, isn't it?
That tells me you will lose all cognitive and critical thinking. So how can you even do a risk assessment in this industry, let alone be able to operate and lose all your body to brain receptors telling the body how to operate? And then that actually compounds further, because if you have the same symptoms as Parkinson's disease, you're unemployable. So you're going to be on a disability pension. So that means the NDS sector is going to blow out. I'm predicting, it's not even a prediction, these are astute representations from research. 10% of the population is going to be on the NDS very soon, and because of ice. In 2018, the Ice Age report said 7% of the workforce is on it.
7% of the workforce is on ice.
7%. Now, out of that, only 4 sectors can they take that information from, because that's only for the 4 sectors where testing is mandated: rail, air, transport, the military also, and some transport. What about every other sector? And in our industry, only tier 1 construction is mandated for testing. So what about the rest of the sector and the supply chains for that matter? So as far as I'm concerned, the health department has proverbially got their head stuck in the sand because they think only 1% of the population's on ice. Well, because they rely on the Australian Bureau of Statistics. But we've got a report written by someone that's done the research and told us 7%. And I'm saying it's actually gone up because you see the ice usage go up everywhere. So that tells me the government doesn't want to know about it, or they are just so misinformed that they don't realise how drastic the situation is. I'll put it to you this way. If you drive down 7th South Road, you'll pass 720,000 odd cars in a day. 7% of that population is 50,089 ice addicts driving to work, maybe going to your house to be a cleaner, maybe be a carer, a support carer, maybe do some plaster, painting, the plumber, the electrician, the roofer. You name the sector, someone on ice is driving to work today and putting themselves and everyone else at risk. So if you've passed 50,000 people driving to work on a main road, what's the risk of an accident there? But everyone seems to be happy in the industry not to mandate testing and think it's people's right to take drugs and then go and put their hand out for a fair day's work and pay, while they stuff everything up, do all the reworks, the HR headaches. Back in 2018, let's go back a decade when I was a trainer assessor. You know, we used to reiterate it costs, for every dollar it spends on an injury, it costs the company 9. Now, that surely has gone up with insurances and the cost of life and so on. So let's call it 10 to make it even and round anyway, which is a pittance for how the cost of living's gone up. So if one accident, that injury costs $1,000, the company's lost 100K. Whereas if we had us in there with our policy, education and testing regimes, we could reduce those accidents. And I've got proof with clients that have seen LTIs drop by 50% over the 3 years we've been testing with them. That alone justifies the cause, let alone corporate social responsibility I hear about all the time. There's organisations go, well, we trust our people. Geez, last time I recalled looking into court cases, I don't think trust was a legal defence when someone hasn't followed policy and procedure. And this is the big problem out there. Companies think that we can trust our people, they'll do the right thing. Trust is great until you don't have it anymore. And that's a big issue.
Mario, it's worrying enough that anybody's on ice, but if you're talking about people behind the wheel of a car, people rocking up to construction sites, so we know it's a dangerous industry, then that's just frightening, isn't it?
Absolutely horrifying. And what really does my head in somewhat is that certain sectors and certain groups are quite happy to mask anyone or hide the fact that they're on drugs. Let's look at the RA. We know there was a big ice problem there, one of the biggest projects Adelaide's seen in ages. But all of a sudden, we're 10 years down the track, whatever it might be. I hear the stories from people how they used to hide in the back of utes under tarps to miss out on the drug screening so they could get onto site. Or people would wait for the security to ring and let their mates know it's okay to come in because obviously we've got our quota and our numbers for the day. So if security's running testing and any other worker body groups are involved in whether we should or should not be testing, we've got a problem. And that site's one enough to say it. The defence sector, it should be mandated. It should be mandated everywhere. And then true corporate social responsibility is, yes, we trust our people, but we will do the right thing to get them support and have a proper employee assistance program, because it's people making life mistakes, the pressures of work, relationships, money, maybe being a parent, whatever it is. Now, if we actually offer the support when we identify there's an issue, that's true corporate social responsibility. But going, well, we don't want to test because we trust our people, but, And then when they find there's an issue, which is reactionary, and it already cost them tens of thousands of dollars probably, then they just kick the can and push that person off and fire them. So they don't actually show that they value human life at all. Whereas if we did, true corporate social responsibility would be, let's put an arm out, let's protect and help that person, give them the guidance and support they need, rehab, whatever it might be, but at least we keep them being a contributing member of the community and not throw them down the road to be someone else's problem, which will end up, they'll go through the tiers of business, down onto welfare, and then into probably an institution or something because, the drugs have taken their toll on the people. It exacerbates the problem.
Samara, here's a question for you. In the building construction industry, I think in South Australia, most employers, do have a strong safety culture. We know that South Australia is the ice capital of the world. Why is this not being taken as seriously as it should be?
I think COVID really knocked the living daylights out of everyone. Some of the major sites I went on, down to 2 people in a lift, and really put some pressure on organisations. How do you make money when you're shuffling people around? We've got a skill shortage as well, which is another big problem. But no one seems to realise or rationalise that if we allow the ice epidemic to keep growing, we're going to have an even bigger skill shortage explosion than we've got now. Like lose 10% of your staff immediately across the board, because this is how many people, with my research, are on ice. So too many people are game enough to let me blanket the whole organisation and just find out how bad it is.
So you said that it's a growing problem, obviously, that's widespread. How do we get people off ice and stop people from taking ice in the first place?
I'll ask the last bit first. Proactionary is the best way instead of reactionary. And now I won a grant to take my face-to-face education as a trainer assessor. I developed a course so we can educate the masses, get it out to everyone. I won a grant to turn it into e-learning so I can spread that message out. It goes through your duty of care obligations. It outlines everything around drug and alcohol management on a work site and even how to run a risk assessment. So I'm upskilling people or using it as a refresher, but it has learning outcomes developed by an associate professor of education, and it has been designed so that there's a clear, succinct message all the way through, and you even receive a safe work method statement at the end with your certificate of completion to show you have captured that knowledge retention by answering everything correctly, and therefore you are accountable for your actions. That alone will change perception out there. It will actually educate people to stay away from ice, because I sink the boot into ice usage, how dangerous it is to your body. Some horrifying stats. We're using $8 billion out of the economy goes on the ice epidemic every year. There's $8 billion that could be used on people to help people to do anything good for them, but I can't even get government to help me saturate this education. In fact, I'd love to see the Construction Industry Training Board mandate my course so the industry subsidises it to get it out to the sector, and let's educate everyone and put a halt on this malice drug that is killing everyone. And that I can't see why the industry should support itself, and let's just put our hands up and say, yeah, we've had enough, all right? Because mates in construction shouldn't be giving their mates ice in construction. And that's pretty scary when you think about it. You look at your mate on a work site, is he giving you drugs? Is he trying to get you to come into his world where he's obviously got issues, but dragging other people into it? And unfortunately, that's what happens out there. And then once it just grows and it becomes the norm, so everyone thinks they can be on drugs while they're at work because people are too scared to do anything about it. Where do I get the people? How do I cover this? The education, I think, is the biggest and strongest step forward this sector can take. And I think we're the best sector in Australia, because I don't know of any other sector that has a training board. Their profit from the jobs go into looking after their people. So let's use this money correctly for a pittance for what it costs. I know that the majority of people are going to go, wow, I am not going near this. But then we've got a bigger group of people helping put the freeze on the ice epidemic. And it also increases peer resolve to stop people wanting to use it, which is really important. So education, I'm really big on it. And we've got a module there for management so they can identify and understand how to implement reasonable suspicion for cause testing. So it's done properly, justly, professionally, confidently and competently. And that's embedded into everything that we do as an organisation.
Mario, it's absolutely heartbreaking for anybody who has had a friend or family member addicted to drugs. What advice would you give to them if they do have someone that's currently got an ice problem?
Look, yeah, it is hard. I've seen it myself with people I know, people I've worked with and so on. It is heartbreaking. And my thoughts with anyone out there struggling, my line's always open for anyone out there. There's some really good people doing some fantastic things. Danny Lloyd is a gentleman that's doing some great stuff for ice addicts trying to recover. A gentleman that's been down that path. He's lived the life and now he's doing everything he can to help people, which is commendable. We have an employee assistance program where we use some special techniques. We're not psychologists. We don't aim to be. In fact, we steer away from that. We're using NLP, CBT, and some other modalities, and we get some good results as well. So there are solutions. There's the Matrix, which I believe is a government-funded program. They're on North Terrace. You can go in and see them, and they will help you get off ice as well. So there is help. Now, you're going to tell me, will the person ever be the same person? I'm going to say no. All right, depending on how far down, how early we can capture them. MRI scans from that research just shows black spots in the brain, like as it's eating itself away from ice. So the same as Parkinson's. That's why they say that. People just got to say no to this thing and wake up and stop it. And that's why I believe with the education, and that's why e-learning, if we could get that across the nation, across all master builders branches across this country, we could save this industry instantly. Whereas if we do nothing, I can see this industry suffering even more as we lose people due to age, people due to being ice addicts, and there's just no one wanting to come into the industry. It's a really big problem. And all those NDIS people that are on ice now that end up on NDIS, we are all paying for this as taxpayers. So expect the NDS to blow out by a big factor very soon across the country, because the government has purported they're spending $26 million to me on beds and hospital beds for ice users and support services and all these things. For a fraction of that, I could educate the whole country. Doorways to construction, everyone unemployed, everyone in the sector, or everyone employed for that matter, and we could have proactively, as human beings with good nature, stop this problem instead of waiting for people to fall to the wayside and then put a Band-Aid on it. Like, I mean, this is, I just cannot understand, one, the government and their inability to want to actually hear what I have to say. And I've spoken to many ministers at ministerial levels. I've received letters. I've sent out another one. I don't think they know what to do with me anymore. I'm a hot potato, because the facts I'm saying don't go with the norm of what anyone wants to hear out there. But quite frankly, I'm on record today publicly. If we do not do anything, this country will be destroyed. And it's like looking at America with their ice addicts. Why are we trying to copy them and their models that don't work? It's just stupidity.
Mario, in my experience engaging with governments, you just have to persist. You know, you've got to keep showing that there's the evidence of a problem, keep putting the solution on the table, and then eventually you'll get there. Now, you're involved with Master Builders RISE program, so that's a mental health program we are running with the assistance of the state government. You're one of our ambassadors. So if anyone wants to book a confidential one-on-one hour session with Mario, they can by visiting rise.mbasa.com.au. Perhaps there's an issue with, you know, a loved one who has a drug problem. You can get that free advice. We highly encourage everyone to support it. Mark Hastings, another person who's can assist you in this area, because we know that the building construction industry is definitely not immune from this society-wide problem, and it's not getting better anytime soon unless we all agree to do something about it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm very proud to be one of the RISE ambassadors. You know, I'm a big advocate of the MBA, what you do, everything in the state will. Your team's fantastic. And yeah, get online to the RISE MBA website, book a session with myself or any of the other great ambassadors on there for that matter. We've all got incredible life stories and ways we've dealt with things. there's definitely help, and that's the biggest step people can make, is to put their hand up and ask for assistance. It is far beats turning to a drug as a coping mechanism when there's great people out there, and this is a free service to help guide you to the right support services that can help you. And it is free, and even some of the support services out there are free. People need to realise it's good to talk about a problem, not hide it, not do it behind closed doors, not go and take ice because it blocks out the problem. Talk to some people, find out where the right assistance is for you. And that's one of the biggest keys out there. If we can do more of that in industry too, we're going to have a better place.
Too right, Mario. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today on The Building Perspective. The passion you've got to stop this scourge is admirable, and keep up the good work.
Will do. Well, appreciate the time. My line's always open, mate, for anyone out there. So give us a call, STAH Group, or screening on site. Feel free to ring, check us out on the website. Happy to help. Or even just do a free consultation, let you know what we can do and support you. So thanks for the time, Will. Have a fantastic day. And let's try and save our state.
Good man. Talk to you soon, Mario. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for joining me on Building Perspective. For more information on master builders or our guests, please visit our website at mbasa.com.au.